also notified the township that there were some fairly large-scale sales events that were taking place on the property. There was one scheduled for the upcoming weekend or 2 weekends coming up. There had apparently been one a few weeks before where succulent plants, which I guess are little plants that were going somewhere else, were going to be sold on the property. And according to what had happened at the previous sale and what was on Facebook, that was supposed to be a pretty large-scale operation, which is not allowed by the zoning ordinance. There were complaints about traffic. There were complaints about the lack of parking on the site, which resulted in a lot of people parking on River Road, which gave the township a lot of concern about traffic hazards and about people possibly getting hit by traffic while they were trying to walk to the event. So we took a look at the GAMPs, and there were two primary GAMPs involved. One of them is what's called a site selection GAMP, and that is the GAMP, the state's regulations on what are appropriate sites to raise livestock. Based on the information we were provided, it looked as if the township's regulation that didn't allow livestock was overridden by state law on that particular location by the site selection GAMP. A representative of the Department of Agriculture came out and looked at it, determined that site was in compliance with the GAMP. He looks at things like the number of non-farm dwellings within a certain radius and setbacks from adjacent properties and some other things. Determined there was no violation of the GAMP. In addition, prior to that time, from January 2018, the site selection GAMP took into account local zoning of the property. So the site selection GAMP would look at whether the property allowed, under the zoning, was allowed to have agriculture or not. Upcoming on May 15th, so about a week after this was all going down, the Commission on Agriculture was going to review that GAMP and consider changing it and getting rid of the requirements for zoning. So that was another reason that gave us some real hesitancy about taking any action with respect to the livestock. And then subsequently, a week later, the state did change that rule and got rid of zoning considerations in its site selection GAMP. So just to make it 100% clear, we advised the township, and the township took our advice, and the lawsuit that was filed against Hidden Creek Farms did not in any way seek to shut down the livestock operation. Okay, I've got the complaint with me. I can share it with anybody that wants to see it. But the township's action against Hidden Creek was solely aimed at the large-scale sale events and any sale events on the property. Because at that time, we also took a look at the what are called the farm market GAMPs. And those again were last reviewed and adopted in January of 2019, so those were more recent. But they make it very clear that a farm market is protected by the GAMP only, and I'm quoting, if it's located on a property where local land use zoning allows for agriculture or related uses, which was not the case at this location. Therefore, the GAMP did not apply to the Hidden Creek Farms operation. Now, in addition, even if the property is zoned agriculture, there is a requirement that 50% of the goods sold be raised on that farm or an affiliated farm. Events like festivals, corn mazes, ox roasts, music festivals, and so on are not covered by that GAMP. It's limited to sales of agricultural properties. And the GAMP, when it does apply, also incorporates by reference the township's requirements for parking, the road commissioner or MDOT's requirements for access, requirements for signage, and so on. So the complaint that the township filed against Hidden Creek Farms was solely aimed at the what was thought to be a very large event that was upcoming the next Saturday, and future sales events at the property. There was a hearing in front of Judge Marietti on May 10th. The judge agreed with the township. He entered a temporary restraining order prohibiting that sale coming up the next day. And I think maybe Tony might want to speak to this, but Tony Barnes, the supervisor, worked with the farm to find a different location for that sale the next day. And then on May 14th, a few days later, Hidden Creek Farms attorney agreed to a so-called preliminary injunction against, again I'm quoting, promoting or conducting any commercial event open to the general public on the property, including the sweet and savory taste of the farm event scheduled for May 19th, pending further order of the court. So that's, legally that's what the status is right now. There's a preliminary injunction that sales, but pending further order of the court. Meanwhile, the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development changed its policy on farm markets. Ms. Brummel went to a meeting of the Commission of the Department of Agriculture on May 15th. She pointed out to him that the farm market dams seem to be inconsistent with the Right to Farm Act because they require that a farm market be on land zoned to permit agricultural uses. I've got the minutes with me and looked at them, the draft minutes. They won't be approved for another month, but the discussion among the commission seemed to indicate that they're going to direct their task force on farm market dams to go back and take a look at those. And they may change those. They may remove the requirement that a farm market be on agriculturally zoned property, like they did remove the reference to zoning in the site selection camp. But then later on in the meeting, the Commission took up, following a short recess, a motion that they adopted stating their position that farm market products grown on the farm may be sold by that farm at that farm's location in accordance with the right farm. So that's different than what the farm market camp was. The farm market camp dealt with the requirement that the property had to be zoned agriculture. It also allowed up to 50% of products sold to be not grown on that farm, or I guess not even be agricultural products. So that was, it was narrower than the broad farm market camp, but it was also, a great change in policy that was adopted right on May 15th. So having learned of that, the township, reached out to the owners of Hidden Creek Farms, and we're in discussions with their attorneys right now. We got some comments from them on a proposed settlement of this case. But what we have in front of us for consideration by the board tonight is basically a settlement agreement, a consent judgment that would continue to promote resale sales or commercial events open to the general public there at Hidden Creek Farms, except for what the Commission on Agriculture specifically approved to be allowed on May 15th, and that is written verbatim right into the proposed order. The proposed order also incorporates verbatim the provisions that are in the farm market camp, where the farm market camp does apply for parking and access. So that's right in this proposed order. It does require the defendants to take steps, necessary measures to prevent on-street parking, which was one of the great concerns the township had. And in addition, it says this order shall not permit any operations as long as they comport with paragraph 2, which is what the Department of Agriculture did at this meeting, or future generally accepted agricultural management practices in the Michigan Right to Farm Act. So what that means is that if the state does change its GAMS to liberalize it and not require farm markets to be in residentially zoned property, then Hidden Creek will be able to take advantage of that. In addition, to the extent there are special permits for special events in the township, Hidden Creek is free to apply for those. So, I think in closing, what the township, the action the township took was appropriate to prevent the large-scale sales events. It was certainly appropriate with respect to the sales of products brought onto the property from other places. In addition, under the GAMP at that time, it was appropriate because the farm market GAMP didn't protect operations unless they were in agriculturally zoned property, which this is not. And frankly, I think it gives Hidden Creek Farms all the ability to operate under the Department of Agriculture's rules and regulations, and to continue its livestock operations and to sell the products that it produces on that property at that property. And if the GAMP is liberalized in the future so that they can bring in other products and sell them, that they can take advantage of that as well. So Tony, do you have any questions for me?
I don't. Anybody have any questions for Jim? Thank you, I do appreciate that. So with respect to, I need to apologize to our staff, both our maintenance employees or our fire department or anyone in this building, the building officials. Apparently I must not have been able to get out in front of this enough, though I've tried to give an interview to a written statement to some of the media, and the word seemed to get twisted to fit a narrative that does not exist. I didn't give a comment to an MLive article, and that one really got twisted bad. I tried to sit down and speak with this individual that was putting a bunch of videos out there. I think I called him once, he called me once, and I guess we didn't get a resolution there. I did have an opportunity to sit down with Crystal's mom one evening for about 3 hours, Lori and I did, and tried to explain to him that we're not trying to shut the farm down. So contrary to what everyone truly believes, that the fate of this farm is in this board's hands, and it is simply not the case. There was a public safety concern from a resident that said on the 20th of April, there were roughly 200 cars. Now, I wasn't there. I never heard of this farm in my life. I need you to understand that. None of us have. None of us heard of this farm. And on the 20th, I guess they had a sale with some succulents, and the neighbor's concern was public safety. It wasn't anything to do with any type of livestock. I think his biggest issue was that there were no room to even get an ambulance down that road, much less a fire engine. Now, there were some people out there that were voluntarily directing traffic, and that's not, you know, coming down a county primary road where it's 55 miles an hour, you're not expecting to have to hit your brakes there. So with respect to that, I do apologize. The guy simply had a issue with the amount of traffic that was created because of this. And when they told me that they had 22,000 plants, or triple the product for May 11th, Rain had let her know about this, so we got a hold of the owner of the farm and had her in here. We would like to have solved it right here. Apparently we couldn't get to that agreement. I know I've read some stuff out there that all they had to do was pay $50 and they could have got away with it. That's not the case. We would not have taken the 50. I wouldn't approve this special use simply because they had no off-street parking. But it would have gave us a week to try to work with them and try to find them a different location. So again, we're not trying to shut down any farm. That most of our township, as indicated, is agricultural. This agreement has been in the hands of the attorney for the farm for I think at least a week and a half. We haven't heard anything back from them, and it's, you know, a little disheartening that we didn't get this information out there. So with that, I'm going to open up to public comment. That's what our resolution is, to handle this at the end of our meeting under number 9 on the agenda. We've got a stipulated order to farms to be able to do pretty much what they've been doing. But if they have these big events here to come to get us special use, we're going to have plenty of off-street parking. So if you do have a public comment, please step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm June Weber, and I live at 1331 West River Road, which is about 100 feet from Crystal Lee's. There was no problem with traffic. Fire and ambulance could have come down that road very, very easily. I was out there, I saw the traffic. If there had been a problem or an issue, I would have called. People were very orderly. There was no problems whatsoever. As far as the Dalton Township staff, I'm really disappointed because of the comments that have been made by certain staff members to the public. And it's hard to get along with somebody when they're yelling. And I'm very disappointed. They're thinking about shutting the farm down to a certain, because it gives a great deal of service to the community. Yes, there's traffic there, but you never ever see lines in and out of the farm. Never, ever. And you know, I've lived there for over 48 years. If there was an issue, I would have come to you to make a concern. And all of a sudden, someone comes forward after 5 years of the farm being in business, and all of a sudden this thing blows up, which if he had to come over to speak with them, never saw him on the property, and we're there a lot, which I will admit, there was no negotiation at all. All of a sudden we heard the township was shutting it down. I mean, there wasn't any comment from you folks to let them be aware of what was going to happen. and I'm very disappointed.
Okay, thank you. I cannot speak with respect to. Alright, so, before we get started, we have a fire truck that is going to get a ceremony. Glad everybody's here. Go see your new fire truck at 7:30, but you have a 3-minute time limit. Tammy is keeping track of it. So, can you say your name and address for the record, please?
Nolan Twining, 630 West Hickory Road, Twin Lake, Michigan. And I think what I'm really most upset about is this permit thing. How much money does this community, this township need? That they have to bilk it from hard-working farmers that are bringing such a beautiful service to our community. It's wrong. You look out on this road out here, how many cars are parked on the side of the road right now? Are you worried on a 55-mile-an-hour road for safety? Right here, when you knew? Wait a I'm angry that my taxpayer money is going to this attorney and to you guys that are supposed to be working for us. I love what these farmers are doing. They're young people, and they're bringing sustainable, healthy food to us when we have these giant corporations that are bringing genetically modified foods to us that are poisoning us left and right. Come on, you guys. How much money do you need? How much?
Anyone else with respect to Hidden Creek Farm?
Jeffrey Alexander Martin, 6049 Dalton Road, Twin Lake, Michigan, 49457. Have you ever been surprised? In 2015, I had a misadventure in Kenya, Africa. I was vomiting blood. I was told I was
Sir,
going
you need to
die.
address the board. That's what we're doing today, is addressing the board, not the audience. You need to address the board.
Okay, so the lawyer can talk in this direction, but I have to talk in this direction. In 2015, I had a misadventure in Africa. I was told I was going to die. And I made it back. I survived that incident. But I had to make a lot of lifestyle changes, a lot of health changes. And one of those was what I eat. So I reached out to Crystal and Lee, connected with them, and they've been able to help me as part of that journey. And I think what we're seeing here, all the people that have arrived, is that they've connected with a lot of people in those same ways. When I first heard about this, I was surprised, to say the least. And as I dug into it, I was surprised to know that Crystal and Lee and Hidden Creek Farm were being sued by their own township. I was surprised to hear the supervisor lie, and a quote on Fox 17 about the lawsuit. I was surprised that friends of mine called and were told that there was no lawsuit. I was surprised when I called and I was told that there is no lawsuit. I was surprised when I looked up the meeting minutes from before the lawsuit took effect, and there was nothing mentioned. So I decided to take some action. And I started writing articles, which you can find on jeffthinks.com. Hundreds of people have shared them, thousands of people have viewed them. And recently I wrote a Dalton Township Citizens Resolution that reads, "We, the citizens of Dalton Township, find our representative officials in violation of the moral and legal conduct that we expect and deserve. For not pursuing just means of mediation between citizens. For not complying with the Michigan Right to Farm Act. For not complying with the Michigan Open Meetings Act. For not complying with the Michigan Court Officers Civil Process Handbook. For lying to the news, the public, and the citizens of Dalton Township about targeting Hidden Creek Farm and its owners with a lawsuit. For these breaches of trust, we demand the resignation of Dalton Township Supervisor Tony Barnes. We demand transparency in the actions taken by the township, and we demand greater protection of universal individual rights in our policies and procedures." I just had this outside, and 22 citizens came up to me and decided to sign it. I also have 12 citizens that
Your
signed
time
it
is up,
from
sir. Thank you.
surrounding communities. I do not think we as citizens
Your time
should
is
be
Next.
I also at the time should be surprised by the actions of our own government.
That's it. Next.
Hi, I'm Dan Wilkes. I live at 4963 Automobile Road. I guess more than anything, I have questions that maybe you guys can answer. First off, was the farm contacted before the lawsuits were even handed to them? And any discussion taken place? Secondly, who actually served the farm, the lawsuit that Mr. Went, I believe it is, what's his name? The neighbor?
His name is Mr. Wentworth.
Who actually served the papers of his lawsuit? I can tell you, Lorraine Grabinski. Yes. Well, yes. So anyways, if Lorraine Grabinski did file, serve them papers on the farm, she's a township official, using township time, taxpayer money, and being a process server. How does that stand? Well, I would like to know, them are the answers that I would like to know. Now, this is the information that I got, that she's the one that served the papers. If that's the situation, you know, somebody needs to come forward and find this out. Either that, or you guys need to let people know just exactly what's going on there. I also would like to know if there was no contact with the farm beforehand, and try to get anything worked out. If it was just a lawsuit, I'd like to know how much this is gonna cost the taxpayers, to the lawyers.
Yep.
That's what I'd like to know.
Anyone else with respect to the Hidden Creek Farm?
Yes. Please.
I'm Lindy Olexovich. I live at 3574 State Road, right down the road. I've been a resident of Dalton Township my entire life. I'm 52 years old. And I stand with a lot of these people to let you know how disappointed I am and how this whole thing is. In my job, I deal with people all the time that can't get along. And I take it upon myself to find out the facts and help resolve the situation through collaboration. And when I vote for somebody, that's what I'm expecting. When I pay somebody, that's what I'm expecting. And the fact that that didn't seem to occur, and you're spending my money to pay him to do your job, I have an issue with that.
Josh Anderson, 2584 Pillen Road. I'll be honest, I've never heard of this farm until this happened. So, this isn't me coming as a friend, this is me coming as a township resident. You can't run the township like Twin Lake World News. People get a say. You can't suppress what people want to say about the township. You can't suppress the people that pay your position, that have voted you into power, not to just represent a rich neighbor who's whining about some property that is next to him, because maybe he doesn't like the smell, maybe he doesn't like parking once in a while. You guys didn't do your due diligence, and it's making our township look like fools right now. That's on you guys. You didn't do due diligence. And now, you guys are like fools right now, when you could have gone and had a conversation.
Yes.
You could have gone and talked to the people at the farm. Maybe there were things that needed to be taken care of. You didn't even give them that opportunity. You flew this in the middle of the night, expected them to try to respond, and then ramrodded it through court. It's an embarrassment. This is your wake-up call right now. There's an election next year.
Yes.
This is your wake-up call. Get ready for this. Okay? Out. We are in control, not you guys.
Hidden Creek Farm. Anyone else with
Do
respect
it.
to Hidden Creek Farm?
Everybody should say something. If you're from this township, get in there. Your voice needs to be heard.
Hi, I'm Sue Slager at 2195 Cedar Road. I just want to say that I love the fresh food at Hidden Creek Farm, and I don't want to see it ever go away. Thank you.
Mike Osterhart, Calcasas, Michigan. On the safety issue, I'd just like to know if any of you can tell us here, how many 911 calls have you had out to the farm for traffic situations, for congestion, accidents, ambulance rides out there from their place? Just curious,
I wouldn't have that information, Central Dispatch, I wouldn't have that.
but you could do it. It could be posted on your social media, potentially. Is that something you're interested in doing for us?
If it doesn't violate the HIPAA law, sure.
There's no HIPAA requirement there.
You don't want that.
Our Freedom of Information Act.
How many accidents have they been called to? There's no names involved there. That's HIPAA compliant when there's names involved. If there's no names, you can just get a number and post that on your social media. It's that simple.
Even if the number was 0, we don't want it to be 1.
I agree, we don't want it to be one, but how many, regarding the safety, that you guys are drawn into this, safety issue, all these cars parked and ambulances and stuff can't get through. Have there been any calls out there?
On a general day-to-day basis, no. It's the big event where there's 22,000 succulents and there's 1,000 people going and how many more. It's those huge events, not the day-to-day business.
But any calls, 911 calls out there during that?
For the day-to-day business,
For any of it? That's what I'm asking.
For the
any
huge
of it.
event.
You're in the same room here, aren't we?
the assistant is helping move it to make it safer in an area where they were off the road.
How many, just post that number, how many calls to that address? Come on, don't complicate this.
Well, it's a little more complicated than just a number, right? I mean, Lakeland Township doesn't have a fire department, they're covered by Muskegon Township. So, I mean, anybody going down.
Somebody keeps those stats.
Yeah, Central
Somebody
Dispatch.
has to by law.
Central Dispatch.
Yeah, so you can get her, your lawyer can get her, just post that. Thank you.
I'm Nancy Andrews, I live at 1175 West River Road. My house looks directly at the farm. I was home the day that the succulent sale was going on. To be honest, I thought it was a big yard sale and got all excited because all over in my yard. And I thought, all right, there's a good yard sale going on. And then I noticed there were people walking over to the farm, buying their succulents and coming back. Maybe 10 minutes time. They were in and out of there. I took pictures, I forgot to bring them, I wish I had, that I can show you the traffic. It was not impeded in any way, and I saw at least 2 sheriffs drive by through that area during that time, and there was no problems. There was no garbage, people weren't throwing things, they weren't being, in any way bothering anyone. They went, they bought their succulents, they went home. And I think this is just a shame what you're doing to this farm.
I'm Amanda Dyer, 288 West Park Road, Dalton Township. I have my own little hobby farm. And if I had somebody coming to me and telling me that you're gonna take my farm away, I understand that's what you're not saying. What you're saying is you're not trying to take their farm away. I get that. But you are. You're charging $75,000 lawsuit?
Yeah.
That is everywhere. So then what is the, so it's not, you seem really frustrated about it, Mr. Garner. I understand that, like it's everywhere, every MLive, Fox News, you've got all these news stations, and that is what they're saying. $75,000 would ruin me. That's gonna ruin the farm. Okay, so y'all make up your mind about that. I think that if you wanna make a little, hey, maybe don't do these good sales, that's cool. But it should be a friendly little thing, it shouldn't be a lawsuit.
Right.
You bet. You bet.
That's it.
Anyone else with respect to Hidden Creek Farm? Again, you've heard the resolution. Any
We got
other?
someone coming up. We got someone.
Yes, sir.
Rory Rock, 4383 P Road. I'm just gonna be quite blunt with you guys. Everybody up here is elected. Y'all responsible for what we elected you for, and you guys are not doing that job. So I'm just gonna tell you flat out, when it comes to the next election, every single one of you that's up for election, plan on leaving. That's all I got to say.
Anyone else with respect to Hidden Creek Farm?
Coming up.
Good evening, State Representative Greg Van Morton. I don't know if I have many applause lines or anything like that, but I just want to say to Crystal and Lee, job well done of the work you've done, going to the Agriculture Commission, trying to solve this problem. I think one of the issues we talk about a lot is about civility. And when the first introduction to the conversation is a lawsuit, that is not civility.
Amen.
That's right. We're talking, we're working with each other. Very concerned about the mode of sue and settle, as that being an avenue to try and resolve this issue. You know, I understand the cost, but there's cost with the lawyers and cost legalizing up. And that can be a big pressure on a small farm. That the only people making money becomes the lawyers. And a lot of this, I think, could have been done with a conversation and resolving it that way by then having to go lawsuit route. So, thank you.
Hi, my name's Kathy Bazzani. I live on Staple Road. I used to own 1230 West River, and let me tell you, it's in way better shape now than when I had it. And I had animals on it from 1991 until, and you know, you're talking about the traffic in that. We're all parked down the street. You know, it's different events. They only had the one event. And I'm only hearing of one person complaining. You know, I'm still a taxpayer here in Dalton Township. And why would I want 18 acres just to have brush? Thanks.
Good evening. Andrew Smith, 2575 River Park. I'll just take a second. I prepared a statement, but everybody's already said most of it. My wife, somewhere back there, wanted to go to this succulents event that was going on. We drove by it at least 6 times that day. At no time was there any danger to anyone. In fact, there was less danger than what's going on right now, right outside here, where everybody is just trying to be heard. I would strongly recommend that the next time before you vilify a small business, that you take a moment to verify the facts and not just rely on hearsay. That's all I got to
Hi, I'm Louise Sherry. I live right next door to them on the west side. I think Lee and Chris are doing a wonderful job over there. The events that they've had has been great. The people, the atmosphere, what they're doing for our Township, I think is wonderful. I don't wanna see the farm to go, and love it next door. I admire it, and I respect for what they're doing.
At least 4 times a day. My daughter does at least 6 times a day. Not once has traffic been a problem there. Last weekend, there was 3 graduation parties on River Road. Is there a special event? They gotta pay for those?
No.
Well, there's more danger from those parties than event parties ever caused. I've never seen traffic at their place.
Anyone else with respect to Hidden Creek Farm?
I'm Marlon Troyer. I'm not from the area, but I heard about this. I grew up Amish. This is basically the Amish lifestyle that these guys are doing, is where you're able to sustain yourself on your own farm. And what I see here happening is actually, can anyone say it? I haven't heard it yet tonight. People wake up. This is UN Agenda 2030 now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. This is what this is. This is not about parking. This is not about anything that you're hearing. Okay? Wake up, people. This is about freedom. Can anybody say it? Freedom. Wake up, folks. It's happening now in America all across. The Amish lifestyle, everything is happening now. It's going down. What about this whole zoning issue? Okay, this is a conflict of worldviews is what's going on. We're arguing about parking. Get over it. It's ridiculous. I just had a farm auction, okay? I had people parked on the side of the road. How many farm auctions are there? I didn't hear anybody say it. A lot of them. There's yard sales, all this kind of stuff. It's deflect. It's blaming things. Safety. Who heard of our founding fathers saying that he who sacrifices liberty or safety for liberty for safety deserve neither and will get neither?
That's right.
Wake up, folks.
That's right.
You need to take back your zoning. Okay? If you want zoning, take it back. Zoning isn't written by these guys. Okay? They're written by ivory tower people that are promoting UN Agenda 21 and UN Agenda 30 now. They updated it. I downloaded UN Agenda 21 back in 2010. Okay? There's the Grand Vision in the Traverse City area. This is what's happening. Take back your country.
What's your address?
Doesn't matter.
It's okay. Anyone else with respect to Hidden Creek Farm?
Leave them alone.
A lot of cars out there. My name is Lisa Milkamp Louder. I live at 2565 Memorial, and I am the local chapter leader of the Weston Price Foundation. My responsibility is to be able to tell people who come to me from Muskegon County where they can get food with integrity, and I am honored to be able to refer them to Lee and Crystal without any hesitation. I also feel very fortunate to have them in the community because not only are they selling their products, which are local, grown with integrity, but they're building a sense of community and being able to sell the artisan goods of other people. That's how this nation was started. And so for them to have to get a special permit to be able to sell plants that were grown from another farmer, it's just ironic to me. I do have a question because my husband and I came to see you, Tony, after Crystal and Lee, after this mayhem started, and you had said it all could have been prevented if Crystal would have filled out that application today. You did say that to both my husband and I, and so I came back to Crystal and told her that that's what you said, and so now I'm confused because you changed your story tonight. Do you remember? My husband and I came in and talked to you in the front room, and that's what you said. You said it all could have been prevented if they would have just filled out that special use permit. It wasn't, you didn't say that, you said the paperwork, or maybe you did call it that. I didn't know what it was. So I'm just confused that we're not getting the whole story and it's not being consistent. But I think it's their constitutional right to farm, to sell their products, and their products have so much more integrity than these CAFOs around here and the big agri-food, which I'm concerned with in Agenda 2030. So I think the whole situation could have been handled much better. I mean, the poor kids were just frantic the night before they had to go to court. They were given no time. It's like, all of a sudden they have to go to court on Friday. And they had the papers for 36 hours, 48 hours. I think if you guys would drop the case, then this guy that's trying to take $75,000 of their hard-earned money, then he wouldn't have a leg to stand on. So I don't understand why the township is.
Any other comments with respect to the Hidden Creek Farm?
Hello, my name is Ann Kendra, and I live at 8738 White Farm in Rockford. And I initially found out about the farm because I'm a photographer, and I went and took pictures at some of their small events that they've had, and some just taking pictures of their farm and the animals, and it's just been an incredible experience getting to know them and see how beautifully they run the farm. When I read reports of a stench and things like that describing this farm, I don't even know what anybody's talking about with that, because I've been there, I can't even count the number of times, and it's always a pleasant experience. It's a beautiful farm, and it's just run impeccable. And it just blows me away that their own township would be coming against them, because I come all the way from Rockford. Once I learned about this farm, I buy my products from them because it's worth it for me to drive an hour and a half to even come over here. But it is a privilege and an honor to have them in your community. And I love that you're all coming forward and showing support for them and caring about them, because truly I believe that as a township you're blessed to have them, and I hope that you reconsider what you have going on and turn it around and make this about supporting them and supporting the small farmer and supporting people like them that are doing everything right, from how they treat their animals to how they treat the earth to how they treat other people and their neighbors. They're a gem. You're so blessed to have them. Please take care of them instead of hurting them.
I'm Jill Baker. I'm from up by Marion. Commerce is what makes everything happen. And you guys are very concerned about the GAMPs and they're doing commerce, right? It's a safety problem. They can't exchange money on their property. I think the safety issue has been answered. But they fulfilled. Crystal was out ahead of you guys because she has watched other townships try and do this to farmers. If farmers can't make a living, farmers don't farm. They go and build things that go overseas and make other people money. But commerce is what it's all about. The stipulation wants to take things back to ground zero and say, you go ahead and go do what you're doing. The GAMPs are all good. You've fulfilled the GAMPs. Off the suit. It wasn't fair to do it in the first place. These guys got to make a living somehow. the stipulation says we go back to square one. Take it back to square one.
Thank you. Anyone else with respect to Hidden Creek Farm? Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Up there.
Hi, my name is Pamela Wood, and I live at 3918 Scenic Drive. And I appreciate townships, appreciate it very much. However, my concern is that I was raised on a farm as well as my husband, and farms have odors, and I know that's not the complaint from you guys, but my big concern with regard to the complaint from the neighbor with regard to the smell is, I can remember a while ago when the paper mill was in operation.
Yeah.
And I can remember the weight of the smell coming across, and it could be smelled really far and wide.
Yes.
And I remember talking to a person who lived on the shoreline, and they informed me that that was not stink, that was the smell of money.
That's
what
right.
they told me.
Yes,
So that's
that's
what
right.
made me look at it as the smell of money. And so, I don't know if people in general are getting away from where our food comes from, but there's certain operations that happen when you have a farm, and I just hope that people realize in general that, if we don't have farms, you guys, what do we have? The second thing that I wanted to just say again that everyone else has said was, so I live on Scenic Drive, and when I come down river and turn on Scenic, the number of open houses and estate sales that I've been passing are quite a few. And I've had to slow down to almost a stop to allow the people to cross who didn't even look. Right? And so not once did I see a police officer handing citations or anything out, but it's just common courtesy when you're driving when there's an event. You just simply are mindful and respectful and you slow down. So I never looked at it as a possible slaughter of humanity with this event that passed by. I just really support Hidden Creek Farm on top of that because they're incredible and they're doing it right from a farmer to a farmer. So,
Anyone else for, with respect to the Hidden Creek Farm?
Come on forward. Hold on, we got one.
Hi, my name is Diana Jancic. I am the farmer's market manager for the Sweetwater Local Foods Market in Muskegon. And I know Crystal and Lee, and speaking for what our farm market represents, which is local, fresh, organic farms, Crystal and Lee's farm represents the future. And we can't turn back from that now. I can tell you as a market manager of a farm market that, you know, has farmers coming from as far away as Holland, Ferry, and Hesperia, and Hart, that they would give their IT to have a farm like Crystal and Lee's in a community like this, where people can literally walk down the street and buy the wonderful products that they sell. Any farmer will tell you that a minute off the farm is a minute wasted. They want to be on the farm, taking care of their animals and taking care of the farm. And so when they have to sit at a farmer's market and haul everything there, if you have any idea how much work that is, to tell them that, you know, you want to control what they can sell off their farm is basically telling them that you're going to control their business.
Yes. So, I really hope you'll consider that, and, that's all.
I need Jason and Kokomo.
Says,
What's that?
says.
Can you come with me for a second? Sorry.
It was held with, respect to Hidden Creek Farm.
Keep the video
Anyone
on.
else?
Hold on, we got one.
My name's Emily Wardell. I live at 537 I live sandwiched between Michigan Adventure and Dunderberg Raceway. Your lawyer talked about public safety. Any day on the weekend, Michigan Adventure lets out, or when it's opening. There's a line of traffic. I can't get off automobile. I can't go shopping. I can't leave my house because there's a line of traffic. When Dunderberg Raceway lets out, there's a line of traffic. And you're all talking about the public safety. Riley Thompson right there is barely wide enough for 2 lanes of traffic. So you have the buses coming down. You have to pull all the way to the edge because most of the time they don't stay within your lane. And you're an ambulance getting down. How is an ambulance going to get between lanes of traffic if we have to pull out behind the shoulder because it's not a proper shoulder? So if you're talking about the estate sales or their sale for the succulent sale, which I attended and I saw no problem with, then you need to look at Michigan Adventure and Thunderbird Raceway, which is a regular weekend event that has public safety concerns every weekend when it's opening and closing.
Anyone else with respect to Hidden Creek Farm? Anyone else?
On another subject?
Anyone else? We'll close the public comment and move to approving the minutes from May 13th.
Something else on the agenda.
Been moved by trustee Franks, supported by trustee Lotus, to approve the minutes from the May 13th regular board meeting. Are there any questions?
There's another
Questions
comment
or
on a
comments?
different-
Not increased, but on the agenda.
We'll digest it. Any other questions, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Apparently, I mistake, close the public comment on another item for the agenda, so if somebody has another public comment with respect to the agenda?
Yes. Nothing to do with the farm. Karen Fowler, 2769 Middle Lake Road, Twin Lake. I see that you're renewing the Comcast Infinity franchise agreement. Do you take bids from other cable companies, or is that just, you just go with Comcast every year?
We have a uniform video service, local franchise agreement that whoever provides service, whether it be Spectrum or whether it be Charter or whether it be Comcast, Xfinity, they offer to pay the same uniform rate to put their poles along the right ways.
Okay, so there's no difference in the price of having Charter or Spectrum or Comcast?
Well, that I don't know.
Yeah,
The
that's-
only service I have at my house is one, so I don't know if they were.
Well, I just wonder if you investigate, if you take bids, or if you just automatically decide on Comcast.
No, whoever is in this providing service and approved, if they filled out a temporary special use permit, we would have found out then and there that they didn't have any off-street parking, and we would not have approved it. But that would have given us plenty of opportunity to find a different location. Who knows where that may have been. That was on a Monday when I believe the owner of the farm was called, and she was in here on Tuesday. Look, there's been no comment from anyone on this board, with respect to anything but great news from Hidden Creek Farm. I've even said, I believe to her mother, if she's here, she sat here, that if I could imitate that farm, I would. I don't have the time for it. I think it's a beautiful farm, it's an excellent asset to our community. They had a big succulent sale on the 20th. I wasn't there. I cannot attest to how much traffic was there at all. I've heard comment from both sides. I've seen pictures. The concern was that we're having triple the product. Where are we gonna park? And we could have solved that right here, and unfortunately, it didn't happen, and due to public safety. I mean, our fire department, they provide a service. All of our first responders provide a service, and that's what we do here as a board. So this resolution that we've offered to the farm simply allows them to continue to operate under GAMS, which is what they've been doing. The only thing we're asking is when it comes to the big events, you have to come in here and make sure that you have a temporary special use permit unless you have some off-street parking that can handle the flow of everyone that's coming out to your farm that day. We have nothing but positive. I've got emails from all over the country, phone calls from all over the country. I think this is a great resolution. I don't know why they haven't signed this and got it back to us just yet, but this is the GAMS that we all, not just Dalton Township, every single township in the state now has to operate under. And again, we have no issue with what was going on out there other than safety issues with that event. Nothing did happen at that event, I'm aware. But when they have tripled the product, we don't want anything to happen. We are going to err on the side of caution every opportunity we can. The comments that I've read, people were coming from greater than 2.5 hours away. I don't care if you're coming from 2 minutes away. There's a reasonable expectation of safety. Doesn't matter how far you're coming from. There's a reasonable expectation of safety. In a heartbeat, we would do this again. We have no regret from trying to work with this farm right here in this office, and we should have got to a resolution at that point. We don't take our residents to court. That's the last thing we want to do. But out of fear that something could potentially happen, that's exactly what we had to do. This resolution is exactly what they've been operating under. They had one large event, and we did help find them a location for their second one. Does anybody have any questions with respect to this agreement? Jim, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think you summarized it. It allows them to operate the way they've been operating. And if the GAMS change and they're more liberal and they can do more, it doesn't stop them from doing that either.
Right, so again, it was never about the fact that they had selling their product out there. This was about a plant sale that came in from, and they just had enough off-street parking, that was it. I know it was brought up a little earlier about some agenda or whatever, but either way, our master plan just got updated. It took us a year to do. Our zoning rules are not written by anyone but the community. That's where it's at. Either through a sample ballot that was mailed out, or you could have been added to the Plan Dalton Facebook page and filled out the sample survey there. You could have came to the open house. You could have came to any of the public hearings here with respect to the park and rec plan and the master plan. That contract was signed, and Williams Works was the contractor that got that bid. They did our previous one. All that data was collected by Williams Works, and we took the comments and they did all the data collection, and that's where we ended up. So we don't make up rules up here as we go along without having a public hearing here. I encourage everyone to stay involved with their township. This is exactly what we need, is more people at these meetings. So again, no issues with this farm, never heard of it, drove by it. I haul my boat out to Snug Harbor. I haven't even seen this farm. Of course, I'm paying attention to the road, but day-to-day operations, we never had an issue. It was this big event where the safety of our guests coming to this township could have been an issue. So with respect to the traffic on Riley Towns Road, we know the road commission is not flipped the light down here. And maybe I'm getting off subject here, but they haven't flipped the light down here. They're waiting till school was let out. we've gotten pictures from the racetrack, we've gotten pictures from plenty of residents, and you're right, that's not a township issue, that's a road commission issue, and we are gonna try to make sure that that light gets changed so that that doesn't happen down there. Anyone else have anything with respect to this resolution, why we shouldn't sign it, let the farm continue operating as they were, with respect to their daily activities? Puts it right back to where it was. Just the big events are, they need to have plenty of off-street parking for whatever event you have. Now, I'll entertain a motion to execute this final stipulated order.
I'll make one.
It's been moved by trustee Loches, supported by trustee Frank to execute and sign the stipulated order. Any questions, comments, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 10 on the agenda is the public comment on not on the agenda item. Yes.
I have another comment.
We're here to help. That's what we're here for. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn and invite everyone next door. You have a new fire engine over there. It's yours. We own the keys. The fire department does. That's your fire truck. And there's a long-standing tradition of pushing it back across the threshold, which goes back to the pushing the horses back. So, I want everybody to stop over there and say,